Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff After Hours, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon. I'm a retired 27-year veteran of the NYPD. I retired as a detective sergeant out of Manhattan North Homicide Squad. If you guys like this show, please subscribe on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. We're also on Facebook, and we're on 9 listening sites via Anchor. And folks, we want to really thank you all. In the last 2 weeks, we've actually grown by 3,500 subscribers. So maybe we're doing something right, or maybe you guys actually like us. So I'm going to introduce our guest tonight. And as I do every time he's on with me, straight out of Brooklyn, here he is, Detective Phil Grimaldi, who's a second grade detective, which is a rank he retired from. That's a rank. I'm not calling him a second rate, like someone asked me in the chat. Second grade detective is an actual rank on the NYPD that makes sergeants pay. And anyway, further ado, Phil Grimaldi, right out of Brooklyn. How you doing, Phil?
Pretty good, Bill. That's 2 promotions up from police officer. So you're right. It's a promotion up. Thank you.
And then you were living large, and you got all the respect. He wore those pinky rings. He got to wear those dark suits in Brooklyn, and he got a lot of respect. Tonight we have a very special guest. And he's a captain of police somewhere in the Midwest. I won't tell you where. He's a secretive type guy. But even more than that, he owns a company called Cop Coffee, which is very great to police officers, especially police officers in need.
Bill, let me correct you. It's Police Coffee Company.
Oh, I thought you called it Cop Coffee.
Police Coffee Company. Thank you.
Police Coffee Company. We in New York, we get carried away calling everyone cops. Anyway, let's invite and give him a warm welcome, Stephan Bennett. Stephan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on the show, Bill. As you know, I'm a full-time police captain. I've been with a large Midwestern Rocky Mountain agency for 26 years. And a couple of years ago, a friend of mine, decided to, we kind of thought about putting together a coffee company that would give us an opportunity to start a side business and also give something back and offer support to police officers. I mean, we're going through a lot of difficult times right now, and I think all we hear is this vocal minority out there saying that the police are bad. And I think what people don't realize is there's a lot of people out there that support the police. So by creating this coffee company, we provide really great coffee. It's targeted towards police and the people that support police. And as a side benefit of it, we do donate 50% of our profits to Concerns of Police Survivors. It's the acronym's COPS. And what they do is they provide assistance to those officers and the families of officers that have fallen in the line of duty. So it's been a really great undertaking, and we really got started last October.
Stephan, I just want to commend you. That is a tremendous thing. I want to play a video from your website that shows you in uniform and talking about your company.
Stephan Bennett, founder of Police Coffee. I've spent the last 25 years working as a law enforcement officer in a major metropolitan city. We're a small batch coffee roaster offering freshly roasted blends and specialty varietals crafted for our men and women in blue. Here at Police Coffee, we believe that each bag we roast comes with a meaning. It represents the hard work and service to keep our communities safe. We're motivated to make sure the men and women behind the badge receive the support they so desperately need. Around the country, the integrity of police officers is brought into question, completely disregarding the professionalism, ethics, and sacrifices made every day to keep our communities safe. Having those hardships in mind, we've crafted our coffee to keep you energized throughout the day and face whatever challenges your job may bring. Each sip makes a difference. Police Coffee is roasted to order to ensure that only the freshest beans arrive on your doorstep. This is an officer-run business, and we want to honor the memory of our brothers and sisters that have fallen in the line of duty. At Police Coffee, we're proud to donate 50% of our profits to organizations dedicated to helping police officers. Purchase or subscribe to have high-quality coffee delivered to your doorstep. Show your support and back the blue. Police Coffee.
That was pretty damn impressive.
The thing is, too, is like not only are you, I love to use this expression, not only are you walking the walk, but you're talking the talk. And you're talking the talk by going into your pocket and giving away 50% of your profits. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, we're definitely not trying to get rich off this endeavor, but it's definitely giving something back to the community that we serve and the people we work with.
Stephan, I pulled up some of your products that you have here in case folks want to order. And I'm going to even, and here's you in another picture. Those are all different, I guess, blends of your coffee. But I'm going to also put up the banner on how people can order if they would like to. And this is right at the bottom of this is order your coffee by contact at policecoffee.com. And for OTC 10, that stands for off the cuff 10, you get a 10% discount. So Stephan is again talking with his pocket and he's helping us out. But please, there it is there. Contact policecoffee.com and for a 10% discount, OTC 10, off the cuff 10. Beautiful thing.
Hey, Stephan, I have a question for you. First, I want to commend you. That's really outrageous. It's very, very thoughtful, and to take 50% of your profits and give it to such a great cause, fallen officers' families. That's really, really commendable. But did you have a background in coffee, or did you know anything about the business before you started to do it?
Well, Phil, I'm a police officer, so I'd say my background is coffee, as it runs in my veins. I personally don't have a background in coffee beyond being a consumer of it. And I, over the years have developed my taste for higher quality levels of coffee. And one of my friends, a partner, is involved in the coffee business and roasting. And we got talking about this idea a few years back. And we were kind of like, well, maybe it's not the right time yet. We were trying to look at the angle to approach it at. And man, last year hit between the protests that happened. We decided it was time. It was time to move forward on it. So we put the business model together in September, and I believe we got it rolling on like October 1st.
Stephan, someone was asking me, I mean, this is a little off topic, but do you have a French roast?
So the closest thing to a French roast is typically a dark roast, is our operator blend, which has kind of become my personal favorite. I tended to lean towards light roasts. If you want to get technical, light roasts tend to have a lot more caffeine in them, but a little bit higher acidity. I've been drinking our operator's roast pretty much regularly. I like my coffee black, and this is very smooth, very little acidity, and kind of reminds me of Guinness, which is one of my favorite after work consuming beverages.
Hey, this is a family show.
Well, it's for Irish families,
and
right?
look at that, Stephan. You even have stuff for the dogs there, little doggy treats.
And notice that they're donut shaped. Okay, so we decided to do dog treats. A lot of us have pets, and I thought Canine Bites was a good tongue in cheek label for that.
That's excellent.
It's canines happy,
Stephan, the thing that we like here, because we're always talking about policing, and not just policing in New York City, but policing all over the country. And we know that 2020 was a horrendous year. 2021 hasn't been that much better. In fact, maybe it's better because COVID is 90% over with. But police across the country are having a tough time. Violence is out of control. We look in New York City. Shootings are off the charts. And you tell me that in your jurisdiction, the same thing is occurring.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing heightened crime rates everywhere in the country, especially in the large metropolitan areas. We've had a huge exodus of police. I know you guys have in the New York City area, lowest levels in 10 or 15 years in New York. And I know we lost close to 100 officers in the last year. And, now we're having a hard time with retention and recruitment. But I do feel like the tide's starting to shift. I think the public's getting fed up with what they're seeing and the rising crime rates. And we're finally starting to see the politicians making some changes. I know in my agency, they finally realized that, substantial pay raises were required to stop the bleeding, keep that retention, keep that quality pool of officers we already have. And then hopefully entice new officers to come into our agency.
You know, we have the same exact problem in New York City, but it was exacerbated by some really crazy laws that were passed. One, I'm sure you heard about it, was something called the Diaphragm law, which was passed by the city council, which was probably the single most asinine piece of legislation ever passed by a government entity in the history of mankind. And basically what it said was that the officer in making an arrest could not restrict the diaphragm, i.e. he could not put his knee in the back of the perp in order to get him handcuffed. Meanwhile, every single police department in the nation is trained that way, to put their knee in a perp's back to get him cuffed. And so that severely restricted officers. And I'm just happy to say it was recently found unconstitutional by a Supreme Court judge. So one victory for the NYPD. But we also have qualified immunity was taken away from the police officers. Stop, question, and frisk in New York City was seriously cut back, where when an officer stop, questions, and frisk a potential suspect, the officers looked more at as the criminal than the person he's stopping. So we all know, to get guns off the street, that is the technique you have to use. Phil, you want to comment on this?
Oh, there's so much to comment on. Obviously, the things that you mentioned, the diaphragm law, the stop, question, and frisk, we've talked about that several times. But I've noticed, and we talked about it earlier, Bill, that it looks like the Democrats, the politicians, they're starting to wake up. They realize that there's an out-of-control crime wave across the country, and they want to make it look like they're doing something to address the problem. But they're not doing what needs to be done. They need to get an alliance with the prosecutors, obviously. They need to have the police on board, and you can't have cops. If you flood an area with cops and they're going to stand around with their hands in their pockets and they're not going to take any action, they're not going to be proactive, what good is having a cop there at all? You could just use, cigar store Indians and dummies, dressed up as cops, and put them out there, and you get the same effect. But what they're targeting, like when Biden spoke last week, he was talking about enforcement of gun laws. Enforcement of gun laws, he won't use the word illegal guns. They want to target the Second Amendment all the time. And, there was a time in New York City when anti-crime, which they abolished, the plainclothes officers, they abolished that in New York City, where the guys on the street, the perps, the gangbangers, the scumbags in the street were afraid to carry a gun because they knew anti-crime was out there. They'd watch them, and they'd build up enough probable cause to stop, question, and frisk them. And if they were carrying a gun, they'd be arrested. It was super effective. But now there's no deterrent. They've taken away the deterrent, specifically in New York City, but across the country, because 3, 4, 5 times arrested with a gun, and they're back out on the street. I saw a press conference earlier with the superintendent of Chicago, David Brown. It was from a couple of days ago. I think it was from last week, actually, that they had the deadliest weekend, the July 4th weekend in Chicago. They had 100 people shot. I'm going to repeat that. 100 people were shot. 18 were dead. So they had 18 homicides, 100 people shot. And the prosecutor, Kim Fox, is saying, well, if they don't go out and arrest the guys, how could we prosecute them? It's nonsense. They need to have bail. They have bail reform going on in Chicago as well. And this whole defund the police atmosphere throughout the country, it's just horrible. There's common sense solutions to the problems. Now, they'll talk about they want to have these community projects. They want to have violence interrupters. I'm all for that. Makes a lot of sense. If you can stop someone from entering a gang before they do or committing a crime, I'm all for that. But the problem is occurring at a high rate right now. We need enforcement. We need the DAs on board that are going to ask the judges to keep them in jail. And the judges are so liberal. They're saying, oh, release them, release them, release them. There's a guideline where there's bail reform. I can't hold them on bail. It's nonsense. If you feel that they're a threat to the community, which most gangbangers are, you can hold them. So that's just a few things that we could be doing. They're not really attacking the problem at hand. The
Hey,
problem
Phil,
is out of control. Go ahead, Steph.
when you're talking gun crimes, I have a pretty significant background in that. Back in my undercover years, I was assigned to an ATF task force, and um, even back then, early 2000s, we were having difficulty with getting good sentencing and good charges against someone with a gun locally, through our district attorney's offices. So what we did, and I don't know if it's the same under the current administration in the federal government, but we ended up pushing to the federal side. So, gang members with guns, gang members with ammunition, they would route through me if I wasn't buying the guns from them, or, the other officers would be catching them with guns. It would route through me, and we would end up filing federally on these guys. In fact, I got a guy who we couldn't find the gun, but he had a magazine in his pocket, with a bunch of 9mm rounds in it. We were able to put him behind bars for 5 years. Word started getting out that we weren't playing games anymore. It wasn't a slap on the wrist. You were getting federal time. And federal time, there's no parole. You do virtually all your time there.
Yes.
We saw a significant reduction in violent crime during those years, especially involving gang members, because they knew if they got caught with it, it was done. It was no more, get booked into the jail and get booked out. It was get booked into the jail, go into federal custody, and we'll see in a few years to a decade.
Well, they used to have that in New York City when narcotics would go out, and they would say, "Oh, this is Federal Day." And all of the perps would be like, "Oh, no, not Federal Day," because they knew the feds would put them in prison for, 3, 4, 5 years, whereas local would just, slap on the wrist.
And in my case, there's no federal prisons in my state. So they get moved to a neighboring state, and then their family has to go visit them there.
Yeah, sentencing guidelines under the federal statutes are much more harsh. And like you said, in New York City, for instance, they have the good time law where you get 1/3 of your sentence off for good behavior. With the feds, it's 1 month for every year. So the sentencings are much harsher. And what you described, Steph, is what we used to do in New York City. Now they've scaled back everything. And then our illustrious governor in New York State, I call him El Supremo, Governor Cuomo, he came out at a press conference last week and he reimagined all these things he was going to do. And it was stuff that was already being done for the last 30, 40 years in the NYPD, working along with federal agencies and state agencies. We've been doing that. So he's trying to take credit for some policy that's already been in effect. It's all fluff. It's all, in plain English, it's all bullshit. And the bottom line is that what you described is what we need to do now, here, today, and all of these other community organizer, type things that they want to do with these violence interrupters. Great. But we need action now. We're going through a horrible summer. The crime is out of control. I mean, we can name all the cities where we've named them before, name them again. It's the same story everywhere. The gangs, they're not afraid to carry. I can speak specifically for New York. They are not afraid to carry handguns in New York City, because even if they do get arrested, by the grace of God, they're right out the door. They don't hold them.
Yeah, that's a tough problem, regardless of what city you're in. And what's funny is we're always pushing for more gun laws, but we have plenty of gun laws on the books that just are not enforced or applied at the level they should be. I'm definitely pro Second Amendment myself, but these gun laws need to be applied to illegal use of a firearm. Otherwise, we're just penalizing good people.
Well, Stephan, they had a news blast today, and there was a 16-year-old kid killed in the Bronx, another 15-year-old kid, and it's all gangbangers. And when they listed the shooters, one of them had been arrested 3 times in the past year for possession of a gun. 3 times.
That was like a 16-year-old, I think, right, Bill?
Yeah, and he got released every single time to go out and shoot someone again. It's just like incredible. And you know about shootings as well as we do. One shooting begets many more shootings because the retaliation factor. Someone gets shot and they say, I don't believe in the police. I'll take care of it myself. That mentality. And so the one shooting begets many more shootings, and it's a vicious cycle. And Phil said before, and he had a great point, and I feel like I almost talk about this ad nauseum, is that progressives don't talk about illegal guns. They just talk about guns as if the gun as an inanimate object is shooting people. But they don't want to talk about the person that possesses or actually uses the gun. That would make too much sense.
It's no different than the person in a car that drives over someone, intentionally. Are we mad at the car manufacturers?
100%, right? It doesn't make any sense, but they will never talk about the illegal gun because that involves the illegal person that's using it. And then they have to put that person, it all goes down. It comes back to decarceration, which is it's a progressive idea that really is never going to work. But they're going to put these people out on the street and not punish them. And the big thing is that they don't care about crime victims. And that's what kills me.
No, we're definitely seeing a lot of that in the, I don't know if you guys have had it out there. I assume so. In my state, they did a justice reform initiative where they reduced penalties on a lot of crimes. Drug possession was one of them, where they lowered the penalty for a user possession of, say, cocaine or heroin or methamphetamine to a misdemeanor, where it used to be, the lowest level felony that we could book them on. And so we've really opened the door to a lot of things. We're not keeping criminals behind bars who are involved in a lot of property crimes because, it's a non-violent offense. But what do? They keep reoffending. We've had car thieves that have been booked in one night, get booted out of the jail, or right back, caught in another car, booked again. And it happens over a week period where they've committed several other crimes, yet they're being caught every time they do it.
Well, Stephan, I don't know if you watched the what the progressives called peaceful protests in New York City.
I saw that in Portland too.
Yeah, what anyone with half a brain called them was riots. Every one of those riots, even the ones that were caught stone cold dead, coming out of a building with merchandise, every one of them they refused to prosecute. I mean, that's incredible to me. They dropped all charges, the Manhattan DA's office. That's the progressive ideas.
It's incredibly frustrating. It makes our job that much harder, where we're losing officers. I'm a big fan. I don't know what the local feel is. I'm a real fan of Bill Bratton, and I liked his fixing broken windows kind of order maintenance approach. And every time I used it as a patrol commander, I had great results in reducing crime in various areas. But it seems like as a society, we've kind of moved away from that, or they don't quite understand that dealing with those low-level crimes really makes an impact on getting rid of the higher-level ones and really creates a much safer community.
Yeah, that's the whole philosophy of broken windows theory. Vicky Marah, JR, same in Texas. You shoot us, we shoot you back. We are carrying. Oh, I love that one.
Like that guy.
I don't know if that would ever work in New York City because, people are carrying illegal guns, that's for sure. But I don't know how many actual legal guns are out there. You can't. I don't know if HR 218 is the law in New York City, or if do they actually honor HR 218, Phil?
Yeah, the HR 218, it was actually being fought in New Jersey, and they just won it. It's acceptable, definitely in New York and New Jersey. I mean, according to when I last did my pistol permit, all you need is an HR 218. You don't even need to carry a pistol permit anymore, as long as you keep it up to date and you qualify once a year. But I wanted to make a point about what Stephan said about, the laws. For a very long time in New York City, previous administrations, there was a mandatory 1-year sentence if you caught with an illegal handgun. During the previous administration to the current mayor the current mayor de Blasio, the Bloomberg administration raised it to 3 years. So you had a mandatory 3-year sentence if you were convicted of carrying a illegal handgun. How can that 16-year-old be out of jail 3 and 4 times with an illegal handgun, with no bail, and then he goes and killed someone? So the laws are there. It's like you said, Steph, the laws are there. They're just not enforcing the laws. And that's the problem between the bail reform. I mean, when bail reform first started, a friend of mine who's a chief on the job sent me a message that there was a guy who robbed a bank. he robbed the same bank 3 times. He was released 3 times. On the 4th time, the judge decided it might be a good idea to put bail on this guy. He might be a threat to the community. Never mind the gray hairs that he was putting on the teller's head that he was robbing the bank 4 times. So finally, they caught the message. But, I mean, it's policies like that that are just, the laws are there. The police officers are there, and they're waiting to do their job. They need to be able to get the order to execute. They got to have the backing of the job, the backing of the politicians, and the people will back them, because these criminal scumbags that we're talking about are a small minority in every city. There's good people in these cities, and they want to be able to go walking down the block with their children, not have to dodge bullets like they've been doing in Times Square recently. So I think that those are really simple solutions to this current problem. And then we can address all the community outreach programs that they want to enact.
Yeah, I think all those community outreach programs are great ideas, but they complement the police work. They don't take over the police work, which seems to be the push, the direction that we're seeing the left push towards, is they want to eliminate policing and replace it with something else. I think you still definitely need policing, but some of these intervention programs are fantastic. I know my agency was one of the first in the country, although it wasn't widely publicized, to use a co-responder model with a social worker for some of our mental health issues. I can tell you it's made a huge difference. They respond with a police officer to some of our frequent flyers that are having mental health issues, and we're able to deal with that in a much more professional way, get them the help they need so they're not repeat calls for our police side of the house.
That's a great policy. I love that policy right there.
That sounds similar, though. When I was on the job, they had the thing called mental health removal orders, and they would send 2 social workers with the patrol sergeant and his driver in another car to remove someone, if necessary, forcibly, because they were going to get committed to a mental hospital. So, I mean, I can't see that social workers go into these potentially violent mental health removal jobs without the police.
Now, we've actually already had one officer-involved shooting with the social worker. They show up at a guy's house, knock on the door to visit with them and see what services they can provide. He comes out of the door with a gun. It results in a very close gunfight. Luckily, our officers are okay. But, I mean, that stuff, as we all know, can turn on a dime. So there always has to be that safety approach and layered approach by having a police officer with the social worker. I don't know that we'll ever get to the point where a social worker should just be going by themselves.
Stephan, 2 of the most dangerous jobs on the police department was A, an EDP, and B, a domestic violence call. And, when they make light of those and act like, oh, they're perfectly safe, let's just send social workers. It's just so ridiculous that they can speak to that.
Steph, do you know what an ADP is? In the NYPD, we refer to an emotionally disturbed person as an EDP. Is it the same thing on your police department?
We're not. I mean, everyone's familiar with the terminology, but we just usually say, a mental subject or mental health subject.
Okay.
See, they try to make it so politically correct. Now they call it emotionally distressed person.
Yeah.
Is that any different?
Verbiage.
Right. Is that any different? It's like on the NYPD, they don't let you call housing projects. Like they clean that up and they call them the housing development. Like, are you kidding me? Like, is that gonna put lipstick on a pig? You know what I mean? It's like
there's a lot of verbiage change over the years in the recent times we've lived in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're going to take a quick break, do a quick commercial. And Phil, I'm going to take the first one and you can do the second one. All right.
Very good.
All right, man. Folks, if you're looking to move out of wherever you are, if you're in New York, high taxes, crime, progressive politicians, Carol Waters sells real estate down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Carol Waters was once a bartender at Fitzpatrick Hotel in Midtown Manhattan for over 20 years. She now lives down in Myrtle Beach with her husband, Rob Mayen, who was a former NYPD officer who rolled over to the fire department. Together, they make $1 million sales team down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And she's part of the Beach Realty Group. So if you're looking for real estate down there, whether it's a condo, a vacation home, or a regular home, give Carol Waters a call, 914-261-6681, or you can email her at carolwaterssalesmyrtlebeach@gmail.com.
Joe Murray is a terrific attorney, a big supporter of Police Off the Cuff. He's not only a terrific attorney, he's also a veteran member of the NYPD who's retired and became an attorney. So if you're in a jam, God forbid, you have Joe Murray in your corner. He's a terrific attorney. And if you wind up in the legal arena and you need representation, you can reach Joe Murray at jmurray-law.com. That's jmurray-law.com. Or you can email Joe at joe@jmurray-law.com. His telephone number is 646-838-1702, 646-838-1702. I have him in my phone, just God forbid of an emergency, and he's been on the show many times. You can check him out on this show and on Duty Run show. Terrific attorney.
Folks, I just want to also reiterate that if you want to order your coffee from policecoffee.com, you can go to the site, policecoffee.com. You get a 10% discount if you use OTC 10. That stands for off the cuff 10. Not only will you be supporting a great product, but you'll be supporting police officers all over, because policecoffee.com gives 50% of its profits to police officers that are in need. So this is a tremendous product, but it's also a tremendous cause. You can see Stephan proudly standing there with 5 different blends. What I would do, I put a little Bailey's in the coffee, and that gives it a little.
Hey.
Hey, family program, right? Family
That's right. There it is. Back to Blue. He says it's got the most beautiful packaging, and he even got some canine bites. I'm going over all of his products here. Look at this. He has a defunded decaf. How's that for a perfect product?
I don't know what decaf's good for, but I know some people like to drink it, especially, if they're trying to get some sleep at night.
Yeah, I don't actually even know. I don't even know what the point is in decaf. It's like drinking beer with no alcohol in it. You ever see people that do that? They're like, oh my God, just go to an AA meeting and get out of here.
What a waste, right?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so folks, if you want to order it, there it's so easy. Policecoffee.com, and you get a 10% discount. Off the cuff 10 is the discount code.
I want to ask Steph a quick question about the coffee. Now, not that I'm going to bring up a competitor, but just for instance, now in my house, we use Dunkin' grinds, Dunkin' Donuts, the medium roast. What would be comparable to that, Steph? In your
one of our medium roasts would either be our Hot Pursuit, which kind of has an 80s Miami Vice theme to it, or we've actually moved to a medium roast, our Back the Blue. So our Back the Blue is also a medium roast, which would fit in that same category. Where I'll put my money where my mouth is that our stuff's a lot fresher than the large producers. Like pretty much we're within a week of shipping every time we produce. So what you're getting at home is probably the freshest you can get, short of finding someone locally to just do it for you right there. Sure. So and my recommendation too for you coffee connoisseurs is order whole bean and then grind it at home. Okay, if you buy it as soon as it's ground, it starts oxidizing. You lose some of the smells and flavors that come with coffee, and it has a reduced shelf life. If you buy a whole bean, keep it someplace cool and just grind what you need for the day or the week. Your experience is going to be a lot better.
Dawn Marie, who's in our live chat, she says, I'll be ordering. So we already got some orders from this live chat here. Stephan is a hell of a guy, and to give 50% of profits, it's an unbelievable thing. And Lieutenant Peter Pranzo, he says that Stephan's coffee does well with Sambuca straight up in a snifter with the 3 coffee beans. That's the law. That's the law whether you're Italian. That's the law whether you're from Brooklyn. You got to have those 3 coffee beans. If you violate that rule, get out of here. Right?
This is a win-win because you get a delicious cup of coffee, and you get a good cause. How could you go wrong?
3 beans or forget about it, right?
Forget
I like
about it.
Now we're going to be eating cannoli after, right?
Oh, now you're talking. Listen, there's nothing like a good cup of coffee, an espresso I prefer, with a little bit of anisette and a cannoli. Oh, nothing like it.
Now, if you want to use any of our coffee for espresso, again, the operator roast, our dark roast, is the one to use for that.
Oh, okay, good.
You know, Stephan, you should also give lessons on how to get that pinky in that small espresso cup. That's a very important thing.
I'm not Italian, but
if you
I'm
do that
guessing
wrong
someone else here is.
If you do that wrong in Brooklyn, you could lose your finger, right?
Now, wait a second, Billy. The coffee, you got to keep the pinky out. It's out. You don't.
Oh, that's right. But that's a full size. I'm talking about a little espresso cup.
Yeah, even with a little espresso, you got to keep the pinky up. You grab it with these 2 fingers, and you.
Oh, okay.
And if you go to Italy, when they have an espresso, what they do is they serve espresso. They'll serve an espresso with a glass of water next to it, and they sip it right down. It goes right down, and then they wash it down with the glass of water, and then they go to work. That's how they do it in Italy. That's the real deal. But
at a certain hour of the day, I can't drink coffee anymore. If I drink it like after 6 o'clock at night, I can't sleep.
Tell me about it.
Caffeine.
I guess you're our defunded decaf.
Yeah, I guess.
Now,
the only time sometimes I'll go to a restaurant and it's later at night. Thank you, Joshua, for the $5 super chat. Sometimes I'll go to a restaurant late at night and I'll want to have coffee, but it's past my line of demarcation where I won't be able to sleep. And I'll have a decaf cappuccino and then, like a little Bailey's or something on the side.
Line of demarcation. You can tell he's a college professor. This guy. You can tell. Line of demarcation. That's a new one. I love it.
I was a college professor a while ago. Matthew Kaz, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. I know a lot of you folks in the chat were expecting us to talk about the Summer Wells case tonight, and we will get back to that case perhaps next week. I know Duty Ron is going to do another show about it. It's a real tragic case, and I know so many of you folks are following it, and we're going to get back to it because it needs our attention, and I feel good about the people that we've brought to talk about that case, all professionals, all people that can walk the walk and talk the talk. There's a lot of super sleuths on these sites on the internet that really don't know what they're talking about. So,
Billy, the last couple of guests that you had, I mean, Barbara Butcher was fantastic. And last night we had Mike with the computer crimes. I mean, I even learned something from what he was talking about last night. So you've been hitting it out of the park with that. And you're right. We really hope that young lady is found, and the people that were responsible could be brought to justice. But I think we had a good conversation about the case over the last couple of shows that we did.
Phil, they're going to solve that case. They're
for sure.
Definitely going to solve that case. Sure. And there's something I wish I could be down there when they do solve it and they put someone in handcuffs, because
that would be fantastic. From what we saw, they have a direction that they're going in, and it'll be solved. I guess it's just a matter of time. So let's just hope and pray.
Duty Ron asked, can I send them the link to order this coffee? There it is on the screen, Duty Ron. policecoffee.com, and you get a 10% discount if you use OTC 10. That's off the cuff 10. And, order a 50-pound bag.
Well, you brought it up. So our 5-pound bag is fairly spendy, but it's really your best bang for the buck, including shipping and all that. So 5-pound bag, whole bean. Make sure you buy whole bean so it lasts, stays fresh longer. But the 5-pound bag is the way to go. Wow.
Something I love coffee in the morning. I usually have two cups, and that's my limit for the day. I don't drink it anymore for the rest of the day, or else I'll be up for the next week. So
what was that word again, Bill, that you used?
The line of demarcation.
Demarcation. My line of demarcation is sort of like late afternoon. Usually I have a cup and a half to 2 cups in the morning, and I cut it off after that. And occasionally I will have an espresso for whatever reason. Espresso doesn't bother me like a regular cup of coffee in the evening. If I have a regular cup of coffee in the evening, I'm twisting and turning all night.
It was funny here. We're talking about we're getting old. We can't eat and drink things at a certain hour, certain things we can't eat at all anymore. I always think about, should I eat that, or I'll pay the price if I eat that,
Yeah.
I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't.
Oh,
Don't
I'm
act like
getting
you
there.
don't know what I'm.
I'm getting there. I feel you.
That's our new banner on the screen that our engineer Josh made for us. And it's, don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube, leave us a comment, follow us on Facebook, and there's our website, policeoffthecuff.com. We're growing and growing and growing. I was telling everybody, I'm thanking all you folks that are new subscribers. In the last 2 weeks, we added 4,000 subscribers to our YouTube. To me, that's that more than doubled what we had, and we're going to keep working hard. We're going to keep trying to knock it out of the park. And I keep bringing in new guests. In fact, Phil Grimaldi I found walking on the streets of Brooklyn, and I said, "Hey, you want to be a podcaster?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll try to give it a shot." Anyway, he's a diamond in the rough. He's an excellent. I mean, what knowledge he has as an investigator. I mean, the guy's worked homicides. He's done it all. He's got the Combat Cross. You folks not from New York City, Phil has the Combat Cross. He's a Combat Cross recipient, which is the second highest medal in the New York City Police Department. Means you were involved in mortal combat, and he obviously came out the winner. So I'm very proud to have Phil Grimaldi joining me on these real crime stories, because it takes a lot, believe it or not, it takes a lot of expertise to talk about a lot of things, because people in the chat ask us tons of questions. And if you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to find out very quickly. There are some professionals in this chat that can try us. I also want to mention in this chat all the time is Lieutenant Peter Pranzo, Harlem Raiders. Peter Pranzo is a NYPD legend. I always like to bring up his name. He's always in the chat. He's a big supporter of us, him and his wife, Richella. And Pete just had a birthday recently. I'm not going to say how old he was. He might not like me after.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Good man.
But he's an unbelievable man. But anyway, Police Off the Cuff, we're growing. We're trying to get the best guests. Obviously, we've got Stephan Bennett here today, and we're trying to keep you entertained, but we can't do the same exact case every night. And I know you guys would love for us to be doing the Summer Wells case again, and we're going to get back to it, but I can't do it every single night. You get a little burnt out doing the same case, believe it or not.
Bill, thank you very much for those kind words. I really, really appreciate that. And coming from someone like you who was in the homicide squad for a number of years, you're a sergeant, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate having you here and having people I can just call on the phone at hours' notice. Hey, you want to come on the show tonight? It's not so easy, Well, Stephan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on where you work and the changes in the last year due to the defund the police, the attacks on the police, all the stuff that has been happening negative for the police.
As we've talked before, Bill, it's heart-wrenching. I'm a commander in a large department, and I see how the things that have over the last year have demoralized the officers, and they feel very hesitant to act on things. They feel like they're lacking support from the public and from our elected officials. And, it's really time for the elected officials, or for the public, in fact, to write to their elected officials and say, we support our police. We know, and it's agency dependent, but I would vastly say that the majority of agencies are quality agencies, quality officers trying to do a good job every day and make their communities better. But they need to get out in front of the camera. That includes our police leadership, getting out in front of the camera and expressing the positive things that the police departments do in the community every day. The political leaders need to get out in front and say, we support our police department. Our police department is good for these reasons, and this is the positive effect they've had on the community. We focus so much on the negative, or the one officer out of our nearly 800,000 police we have in the U.S., and we're lighting a bonfire over a very, very small percentage of bad cops, or in most cases, poor decisions that get made. I think we need to see more of that public support. I know locally we got a lot of internal support from our political leaders, but it was never forward facing. And I know that caused me a lot of consternation, because it's great that you're telling us internally that we're great and we're doing a good job and they support us. But until that's forward facing, the public doesn't know that they truly support and recognize the work that their police departments are doing every day. So, I mean, that's definitely something we're seeing nationwide. Locally, we're seeing it. I'm in a major city just like everyone else, and we're seeing a lot of the same effects of this lack of support. We're seeing a lot more instances of people resisting arrest, or a lot of wanting to be argumentative with the officer on the street instead of, deal with the situation there and then go to court, have your day there. If we messed up, you're going to make a lot of money in the long run, but it's not worth getting in a fight on the side of the road over it, for either party, the police or the person they're dealing with. I think
Stephan, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of 9/11, and practically everyone that I have on this show is a 9/11 first responder. Everyone from the NYPD, because we're all old, and you can tell we must have been on the job in 2001. And that was like a special thing to be a part of, and to have survived it, and to really hold in reverence the people that gave their lives that day. And, we were so supported after that incident by the citizens. It's almost like you heard citizens in New York City refer to us as their cops. Oh, those are our cops.
Mm-hmm.
We've never heard that ever again. It let the good feeling from 9/11 and the support from 9/11 lasted about 2 or 3 months. And then once it was over, it was business as usual. Oh, you cops, you suck, And, while it lasted, it felt good. And, I'll always be, and I think everyone that responded to the towers that day will always be proud that you responded. And, but, it's, you just realize how fleeting life is, and how fleeting support, either support or someone hating you, how fleeting it can be.
It goes so fast. We had a mass shooting again, mid 2000s in one of our shopping malls. And we learned some lessons from the past. We had several other similar type of shootings here where I work. But after Columbine, we really learned we don't just sit and contain it and wait for tactical or SWAT to show up. We go in and respond to the scene and try and reduce casualties at great risk to ourselves. So we had a mass shooting. By the numbers, we got it shut down within 6.5 minutes, which is probably the best you could ever hope for. Number of casualties, bad guy was eliminated, I guess. Neutralized is a better word. So they, immediately the support's there, but those moments are short-lived. People tend to forget how much risk a police officer puts themselves in for those very situations.
Stephan, someone just asked me for the discount code because they want to order. So we're getting some movement here from the chat.
Little traction.
We're getting a little traction, some live traction.
I might be able to retire after this show.
That's right. That could be it. You may have to come on once a week now. It's great. So on the screen, I posted it again. You can order policecoffee.com, a 10% discount with OTC 10. That stands for off the cuff 10. Brilliant that you use that. It makes people remember the discount code OTC 10. So, I mean, it's, look, I would say that I'm very proud that I served the NYPD. I don't know if I was a young lad these days if I would go on that job during these times, but it's look, police work is a calling.
Hey, Bill, I want to make a point that you brought up about 9/11. I was present at Ground Zero on 9/11 after the collapse, thankfully. But I remember how very shortly thereafter, every car had an American flag on it.
Mhm.
There were American flags everywhere. And I could remember because I was doing, in the days following, I was down at Ground Zero for about 7-8 weeks. And we would get off at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And we would have to go from Ground Zero. We'd have to go to sign out at the FBI headquarters, and we would drive down the west side of Manhattan, and there would be people 7 o'clock in the morning holding signs, people that you would never think would support the police, you know, people from around the village and stuff, holding signs, "You're our heroes," and cheering us as we drove by. It was an unbelievable feeling, and it's just horrible that it took 9/11 to bring country together and to have people supporting us. But I think we could regain some of that if we do it the right way. And if we have the backing of the politicians, as we said, and we have the backing of the prosecutors, and you know, there's so many good people out there that you know. Just recently, I was thanked by a young lady for my service when I was in a store checking out, and there was some kind of a discount for law enforcement. And a young kid, a college kid, she shocked me when she said, "Thank you for your service." So I really believe that there are good people out there still. If we do things the right way. You know, every politician in this country is afraid to back the police because of racism, because if there's an incident where someone of color is arrested and it doesn't look good, I've said this before, any kind of force on those body cameras or on any video camera does not look good. So right away they say it's because of race. And, you know, police officers don't get up in the morning and say, "I'm going to go pick on Hispanics or blacks or any minority." They go to a call for service. They're called to where they go. They don't just appear, you know. So, and I think a lot of the politicians are afraid to get behind us because of that. But, you know, there's something's got to be done. Something's got to give. It was tried previously and it worked with the broken windows policy in New York under Bratton and Giuliani. Steph brought up Bratton earlier, and you know, it can work again. We can get this the city and the country back to a law and order country. You know, it's going to take a little work, and along with that work, there's going to be members of the Blue family that may pay with injuries or even their life, and you know, that's the risk that we take every day when we, you know, get dressed in the morning, put on a gun belt and a uniform and a bulletproof vest, and we accept that. We're okay with that. But if we don't have the backing of the people, how could you ask a cop to go and answer a call and try to disarm a subject that's got a gun or a knife or is threatening his family members when he may wind up in jail for taking, you know, necessary police action? So.
You know, Phil, I think a lot of possible solutions to that issue is that we as police agencies need to take a much stronger step forward with getting the message out, what we do, why we do things. I mean, we're an information-rich society now. You know, it's saturated, but we really don't talk about what police work really looks like. I mean, they see it on Law and Order and NYPD Blue, for you guys that would remember that. But what we do day to day does not look like TV. And I think people need to understand what police work looks like. I think we need to educate them why we do what we do, whether that's detaining someone, whether it's searching, putting someone in handcuffs. Use of force is a huge thing. They need to understand that deadly force situations happen very rapidly. It's not something that, you know, that just you have hours and hours to deal with. Sometimes you do. I was a hostage negotiator for 10 years. In fact, Dominic Messino, who worked for you guys, is the one that trained me. Let
me just interject something there, Steph. What you're talking about, the use of force, the general atmosphere in the United States through the whole country, not only New York, specifically, I can speak for New York, but is not to comply. Simple traffic stops turn into a tragedy because they're not complying. And that whole, you're making a great point that, you know, if there was some community leaders, some politicians that would stand up and say, listen, there's a system in place, comply with the police. If you comply, you don't die. Or you don't wind up in the hospital. What
people forget is this is a cooperative agreement. You know, we're as much part of the citizenry as the citizenry is you know, part of us as far as being our eyes and ears out there. And that cooperative agreement is if you get stopped, you're going to obey the law. You're going to obey what the officer tells you as long as it's legal, right? Even if it's not, you probably should go with it and then deal with it after the fact.
Of course.
But that cooperative effort is a two-way street. It can't be one-sided. It's not us and them. It's a group effort. And I think we've kind of lost that message or direction somewhere in the last few years. You know, I'd even go back to the
today, though. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the young kids of today were watching videos all throughout last summer of people walking up to uniformed police officers, specifically in New York and Portland and a lot of other places, and they were watching them curse and spit at them and degrade them and call them. There was a Washington Square Park incident a couple of weeks back, where an African American was screaming racial epithets at a Chinese police officer. It's disgusting. And what is that doing? If it's on the news, it's in the media, it's showing the kids today. You don't have to listen to a police officer when he tells you move or you know, give me a license. That's the problem that I'm talking about.
And it really changes their
tragedies.
It really changes their perception as well. Like, you know, we went in 1 year from being the good guys to the bad guys. It's even affected my family. I've got 2 kids, and they're older in their teens, but you know, what they saw every day last year, you know, when we'd sit down at dinner and talk about some of these things, it really made me realize that what they're seeing in the news affects their perception and their perception of what I do for work. You know, they really were questioning, you know, is my dad a good guy, or is he not? Or maybe he's a good guy, but some of the guys he works with aren't. It's very confusing. To
the social media too, the kids with the phones, they get stuff like it's like indoctrinating them. They get the small clip of the cop, you know, arresting somebody. They don't get what took, you know, what transpired before. So we really gotta educate, like you said, Steph. And again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no. And you know, most of our agencies are using body cams now. So when we're seeing those short snippets, the immediate response should be for us to get in front of that, get ahead of that train, get the full information out when we can. You know, and show what actually occurred, because we're seeing so many of these things where those snippets are definitely not the facts of what occurred. You know, it's that slice that makes it fit their narrative. But when you step back and look at the entire encounter, it changes the whole story.
Yeah.
You know, we just had factual breakdown. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat in memory of Emil Ciccatelli, NYPD Chief of Detectives. I remember the chief. I
worked with Ciccatelli. Good guy.
Yeah, a good guy. She always is contacting me, and I just want to show you our appreciation. Duty Ron, I sent you the link. I'm sorry I sent it to the wrong email at first, but you have it right now. Duty Ron wanted to show us that, Stephan, that he orders your coffee, and he has some of your coffee. So I was hoping that he would get on here, and I'd put him on, and you could show that he is supporting your coffee company.
Well, thank you for the support.
This is Stephan Bennett, and he owns policecoffee.com. That's on the screen, how you can contact them. You get a 10% discount for OTC 10. That stands for off the cuff 10. And you can order a 50-pound bag if you'd like, you know, or 10 5-pound bags, whichever you'd like to do. Do you get to like travel to these Colombian coffee bean companies?
You know, a lot of them are in Costa Rica. I was planning on going last year, and of course, what happened? You know, COVID hit. So we're looking forward to a little travel this year, or maybe in the fall here.
You got a lot. You got a good reason. Hey, I'm going to search some coffee beans. You know, I'm going to go. I'm not looking at those girls over there in the thongs. I'm looking for coffee beans.
I know my wife ain't buying that one.
You know, folks, we try to bring you different guests from all different parts of law enforcement. And Captain Stephan Bennett is from the Midwest. It's sort of fun to hear that, well, not fun, but a breath of fresh air to hear that police officers have the same problems all over the country. You know, it's not just unique to one area. And policing is a brotherhood. We all look out to help each other. And that's what Stephan's doing. In fact, Duty Ron has just showed up. We're going to add him to the stream. There he is.
Hey, guys. How are you? Hey, Bill, Phil, Stephan, thank you so much for letting me bomb into your video. The reason I wanted to come on is one of my viewers, I have my own channel. One of my viewers sent me this about 4 months ago. Matt Sully, who is his dad is a retired NYPD captain. He's no longer with us, but Matt Sully, who is a retired Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, sent this to me about 4 months ago. And I had 2 bags of it. I've already gone through one, and this is my second bag. So everybody make sure you pick up this product and get out there.
I want to know how you liked it.
I loved it. I already went through a whole bag. So here's the last I'm drinking right now. Bill said after 6 because he's an old man. He can't drink coffee. Me, I could drink the coffee and go right to bed. I'll be in bed by 10:30. So
God bless you.
yeah. Excellent company, excellent idea, great give back with the 50%. I can't thank you enough as a retired NYPD 9/11 first responder, just like Bill and Phil. We have tremendous respect for our brothers and sisters across the.
100%. Duty Ron, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming on. I'm the chat's going crazy. My numbers are going through the roof now that you joined the episode.
You want me to stay another 2 minutes? No, I'll go.
Minutes. It's funny. I just while Duty Ron's here, I just want to all you folks out there in the chat, all you new members that have subscribed to Police Off the Cuff on our YouTube. Duty Ron deserves at least half the credit. He has really coached me along how to do this podcast, how to get more people to watch it, and I owe him a lot in regards to whatever success I have in this podcast.
Well, let me also add in there a special thank you to all of the people who come over from the Crime Time with Duty Ron channel. We just hit the 41,000 subscriber mark, and without those of you who are supporting myself and here Police Off the Cuff, Bill, you put in a lot of hard work. So don't discount yourself because you got to where you are right now through hard work, determination, and never giving up. So
there's no sexiness involved.
None at all. Not in my eyes. Not in my eyes. Maybe in
Ron,
some of the
you
ladies.
made a great point, Ron. You said we're a brotherhood. We support one another. Look what you've done for Bill, and you're really a great guy. And your podcast is great as well. And you're proving what you said, that we all have a brotherhood.
Well, and in addition to that, I'm going to extend the offer to have Stephan, if you would like to come on to my show. I'd be happy and honored to promote his company and what he's doing on my on Crime Time with Duty Ron. So you got an invite there.
I'd love to take you up on it.
If you sold 50 pounds on my show, you'll sell 100 on his show.
200.
People are bringing donkeys to his show to load the coffee on, like they do in Colombia. Now I'm gonna get some hate mail. That was a nasty thing you said.
That's my cue to exit stage right.
Yeah.
But I want to say hello to everybody in the chat and thank you to Bill for letting me come on. I was being a little pesky, but I thought it was important for everybody to see. This product has been in my home for the past 4 months. I had 2, like I said, Matt Sully sent me 2 bags of it. So mine was already ground. So this, I don't know, this might not be as good as the first bag because I opened that right up. But
Ron, do you knock down one of those Entenmann's coffee rings with the pecans with a cup?
How do you think I keep my girlish figure? Come on now. This doesn't happen overnight. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to go. Have a great rest of your show. Thank you for letting me come on. Good to meet you, Stephan, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
see you, Ron.
He's a good man. Really
he's a great man. Guys, we're at the hour. We're gonna be closing. We're gonna give closing statements now. It's like a courtroom. Phil, you got the last close, and I'll go to Stephan, and then I'll say goodbye to everyone.
Just want to say thanks again for having me back, Bill. It's always a pleasure to do the show, especially, like I said, it's a win-win with Steph. The coffee is great, and looking forward to trying some of it. And what better than a cause for a fallen police officer's family? 50% of the profits go to them. Let's pray for our country to have a reduction in crime, and To you, Steph.
Hey, Bill, again, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate the time to talk about the police topics from our separate areas of the country. I think it's a valuable conversation that needs to be had so people understand the difficulties we're facing right now and the solutions that are out there. Also, I'm glad that you promote Police Coffee at policecoffee.com. And remember, the discount code is OTC10 for this show. And I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Thank you, Stephan, for coming on the show. Folks, all you guys that are listening in the chat and all you folks that are new subscribers, the Police Off the Cuff, the best is absolutely yet to come. We got some shows coming up that'll knock your socks off. So have your coffee filled with Police Coffee at policecoffee.com. Get the 10% discount at OTC10.
Put it in one of these cups.
And put it in your dipped in butter coffee cup, right?
No, we do cups too, okay?
Oh, he does. He's got everything covered there, okay?
Now I gotta have 2 cups.
Folks, on behalf of Police Off the Cuff, Bill Cannon, Phil Grimaldi, Stephan Bennett, good night, everyone.
Stay safe.